Welcome to Plastic Model Mojo, a podcast dedicated to scale modeling, as well as the news and events around the hobby, where we hope to be informative and entertaining and help you keep your modeling mojo alive. All right, Dave, how you doing tonight? We're back again, this time for episode 64 of Plastic Model Mojo. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Yeah, you and me both. It seems, for some reason, it seems like it's been way longer than 2 weeks since we did this.
Well, it's been a little longer, but not too much.
Yeah, but it just does seem, I don't know, maybe it was, a lot of stuff going on the last couple of weeks. So.
Well, I think that's it for both of us.
Yeah.
But here we are. What is going on in your model sphere?
Well, my model sphere has a lot of modeling adjacent stuff going on. I learned that not only is On the Bench good to listen to when you're doing yard work, but it's also really great when you're driving to Nashville, Tennessee for your daughter's last volleyball tournament of the year. So I got to listen to their latest episode on the drive down, and it works almost as well as if I was sitting on my riding lawnmower cutting my yard. In addition, Jim Bates sent me a book, The Bomber Mafia by Malcolm Gladwell, a British historian and professor and thinker. It's right up my alley. It's very interesting. I disagree with a lot of it, enough of it that there's probably going to be a Stephen Lee-like screed on my blog at some point, but I'm enjoying the book. It is incredibly readable. My model sphere's making a recovery. How about yours?
Trying to get this nationals trip planned out and figure out what we're going to do there. And
I think I know what we're going to do.
I know what we're going to do. We got some logistics on our end. We got to get the rental car lined up and the fluid acquired and all that. We'll get to that.
Wait a minute. There's going to be modeling fluid? I'm shocked.
We would be remiss to not bring some along.
I think you're correct. I think we might get lynched.
We might. Other than that, I don't know, caught up on, found a big stack of magazines I'd put in an envelope to take on an airplane flight a while back that I completely forgot about. So I kind of read those.
Well, see, we're both getting modeling related reading done. See, it's working out.
Well, I think so. I'm a little behind on my the other podcast, but I'll get caught up soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to get the last PPP under the belt. So, but then again, I've got some yard work left to do. So since I'm all caught up on OTB, I will see how PPP works for that. So, Mike, do you happen to have some modeling fluid in front of you?
I do. I've got, I'm finishing off some Old Forester 1920 I bought a couple of weeks ago for, when did I buy it? I bought it for Derby Party.
Okay. And
I took it over there to share and brought back what was left. And now there's none left except what's in my glass.
I'm glad there's some left. One of the highlights of the Derby Party I attended a couple of weeks ago was I got to sample some Blantons, and I got to say that was awfully nice. That was awfully nice.
So nothing new and exotic on my end. What do you got?
Well, I actually have one from up in your neck of the woods.
All right.
Country Boy Brewing from Georgetown, Kentucky, which is up next to Lexington. And they make numerous beers. This one's called Nacho Bait Habanero Blonde Ale. As a matter of fact, I've got in my garden, one of the things that grows well in Kentucky, believe it or not, is hot peppers. The soil is really good for growing hot peppers. So I've got a bunch of different hot peppers, including habaneros, in my garden. So I saw this, I thought of you, and I thought, what the heck? I'm going to give it a try here.
Well, I've had it, so you see where we line up at the end.
So that's interesting.
I bet.
It's got a bit of a back end to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it works getting me through the get me through the episode.
Well, for some reason, the mailbag is really amped up this time.
Well, good. That's the least I would expect from our listeners.
Well, I don't know. This is a lot more than normal, so we probably ought to just
let's get to it.
Trudge ahead.
Yeah.
All right. The first one was actually sent to us along with some of the other podcasts, and it was just kind of a general thank you from Andrew Armstrong from Center Point, New York. And I think maybe we've talked to him before.
I think we may have.
And it's just a very nice email thanking us for what we do, about how his modeling has improved drastically over the last few years. And he credits a lot to the podcast. Says he can't make it to Omaha, but hopes we all have a good time. So looking forward to that, Andrew.
Yep, absolutely.
Up next is David Poles from Ithaca, New York. And he's got a neat trick for some CA glue. See what you think of this one. He came to this hobby from an RC aircraft kind of prior existence.
Gotcha.
Right. So they use lots of CA.
Yep.
What he tries to do is buy the same brand all the time. And he saves the applicator tops. And when he's got a spare set after using a tube of glue or a bottle of glue, he keeps a glass jar of acetone around. And he just pops that applicator tip in there and just leaves it. So when he's working with the next bottle and all of a sudden the tip's clogged,
he's got a spare.
He just pulls it out of the acetone, lets it dry off, and off he goes.
That's a good idea. I had never thought of it. Of course, then again, I tend to use the disposable tubes of super glue. So I treat super glue as if it is a not necessarily just a one-use item, but I have zero compunction about, this super glue has gone stringy, or this super glue, the applicator tip is, but I'll just toss it in the trash and go to my next little tube.
He's asking us if we know a source for aircraft stencils. He was working on an Edward Zero, which I guess that's 48th scale. And they've got a new style decal that I don't know much about, but he says it was a total bust for him. And
he's not the only one I've heard complain about this. And I don't know because I haven't come across it, but I have read out there people with these issues. Luckily, there is a ton of aftermarket stencil decals for Zeros. You know, the production plate stencil and some of, no step markings and stuff like that. There are numerous 48 scale Zero sheets out there that have that on it.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, and that's kind of not your scale. So,
well, I'm sure that you could look and you would find a super scale sheet or a.
Well, he's wanting stencils proper.
Yeah,
the paint masks.
Oh, paint mask.
Yeah.
Oh, our friend at One. I wonder if he does.
One man army.
One man army.
No, it's all 30 seconds.
It's all 30-second. Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, maybe there's an opportunity. Alternatively, this brings up something that I'm still looking at but haven't pulled the trigger on yet, and that is a silhouette cutter to maybe make your own.
Well, he's with you. He's holding back on buying one, so he's looking for an insignia set already in 48 scale. I don't know of one. Maybe some other listener does.
Yeah. Hopefully somebody will hear this and will send in a reply, and we'll get the info to him.
And he's also an adopter from China. He's got a daughter as well, Dave.
There are more of us out there than you think. As a matter of fact, my youngest just graduates 8th grade tomorrow. So let me tell you, don't blink. Time flies.
Oh, we got some more tips from another Dave Kinsey from Ipswich, Massachusetts.
All right.
And, well, let me back up a little bit. Let me back up twice.
Okay.
He liked your remedy of Evan Williams and ginger ale for his head cold.
I'm telling you, it absolutely works. It does. It's better than NyQuil. It's better than any over-the-counter medicine that I've ever taken for it.
Well, he's also had a positive experience with Dr. Strange brush. The good doctor helped him get his clear airbrush hose, I guess he got from Dr. Miller, to make sure he had the right fittings to work with his current airbrush compressor.
Yeah.
And I guess during their conversation, it came to light that he might need to upgrade his compressor. And John actually looked up what he would recommend on Amazon, and because he doesn't sell compressors,
right?
And sending that link on, it all kind of worked out, and he thought it was just an honestly an unexpected and refreshing interaction.
Listen, I don't want to blow sunshine up John Miller's skirts, but I don't know of anybody who's had a bad interaction with him. John is as straightforward and honest and helpful a guy as you would ever want to meet. He knows a lot of stuff, and he's one of those people who's a natural teacher, and he loves to share information. So anytime you have any sort of question, even if you've never done business with him before, don't hesitate to reach out. John's a good guy, and he'll help you out.
And he's got a list of quote unquote found tools that have become essential to his modeling.
All right, let's get those.
An old compact disc, which he uses as a base to cut photo etch pieces from their fret.
Huh. Now, I use a piece of marble or a piece of glass, but I had never thought of a compact disc. Well, it's probably an AOL installation disc, don't you think?
Just about anything at this point.
True enough.
Could be. A piece of glass about 3 inches by 5 from a picture frame. That's what he puts his CA on.
Yep.
That's true. You put that stuff on a smooth surface, and that little bead will stay active for quite some time. So that's a good tip.
Absolutely. And the nice thing about it, about glass, is it's non-reactive. Whereas if you put CA on, say, a piece of just a piece of plastic, it will start to chemically react with the plastic. Whereas if you put it on a piece of glass, you don't have to worry about that.
And finally, he just uses a scrap 1x1 piece of varnished wood with about 3 inches of blue tape on it, sticky side up, and that's his small part paint handle. So I think a lot of us do something like that.
Yep. I know that you tend to use popsicle sticks covered in tape, right?
Yeah, I use all kinds of stuff, depending on what the situation merits.
Yeah. I go to Lowe's, and you can get samples of marble and linoleum countertop covers. They give you the small samples for free.
Yeah.
And those are great for that sort of thing. Don't tell them I sent you.
I think you were privy to this one, Dave. Ricardo Antonio Montez from Honduras.
Yeah, I sent him some decals previously.
You were on copy. He sent a picture of a Tan Airlines C-46.
Yep.
So, good stuff. He's got a modeling fluid recommendation when it gets hot outside.
Which is?
A Tinto de Verano. Oh, Tinto de Verano. That's probably right. Red wine plus ice plus Sprite and a squirt of lemon lime. There you go. Ready for the cabana.
Listen, I'm willing to give it a shot. That sounds refreshing.
He's also got a treatment for the multiple started and unfinished kits syndrome. I hope Jim Bates is listening.
Yes, Jim, are you listening?
His solution, which he says is not taken full effect yet, is he put his entire stash in plastic bins and stowed them away in a closet far away from his modeling room.
That there is some merit to that. If you put the stuff that you're not currently working on way far away and out of sight, I can see the positive effect of that, because there is certainly a temptation when you wander into the model closet to remember that you had purchased a kit that you didn't remember, and then the next thing you know, you find yourself going through it. So I can see how that might work.
We're hearing from Preston Culp again from Peck, Kansas, near Wichita.
Well, he's close to Omaha.
Well, he says that he's looking forward to meeting all of us and the other podcasts at the Nationals, and he's ready to rock and roll on that.
Yep.
He says he's never been to a model show.
Oh, God. If your first model show is the Nationals. Okay.
It's kind of downhill from.
Well, I was going to say there are two things. One, you may die of shock because it is it will be sensory overload if you have never been to any model contest ever. Number two is, do prepare yourself that not every model contest is like the Nationals. So once you've been there and once your eyes have rolled back in your head and you've fallen on the floor and started twitching around and recovered from that, just understand that unless you go to another Nationals, they're not all every model show is like that. Some are considerably smaller.
Preston writes in from our episode 63 conversation. We were talking about scalpels a little bit.
Yep.
And I should have mentioned this last time, and I actually meant to. I just flat forgot about it. I didn't put it in my notes, so that's what happens.
Yep.
Paul Budzik actually has one of his scale model workshop videos on scalpels that's really worth a watch.
Oh, really? I need to watch that.
Preston uses them. It's his only blade for decals, and he also uses them to clean up small, delicate parts like anyone might.
Yep.
Because you don't need a lot of pressure. He appreciated all the tips from Ed Baroth last episode, and he was pleased to discover that his own frugality was because he was an engineer and not a cheapskate.
That is a quality of engineers, isn't it? Really?
You get used to fixing your own stuff.
I guess that's it.
You have the wherewithal, and you're kind of a cheapskate.
Yeah.
And he sent a few pictures of some homemade organizers using, a 1/4-inch PVC pipe, half-inch PVC pipe, and acrylic sheet to glue them to. Just makes brush holders, super glue holders, that sort of thing. So, since we've talked about that, we get one of those emails about every other episode about some homemade tools.
Yep. And you know what? I am convinced that whether you buy a commercial product or whether you make something of your own, having your desktop, I say this as I sit here and look at my woefully unorganized desktop, and I've got a lot of organizers, so there's really no excuse for me. But I do think that those people who are highly organized, have highly organized desktops, are more productive.
We call it critical mass. At some point, you lose your X-Acto knife like 2 inches away from you. You just got to stop and put some crap away.
Yep. Been there, done that. Have the T-shirt. Next
is Mr. Patrick Neff. He's originally from Golden, Colorado, and he swung by our table briefly and signed a registry at the 2021 convention in Las Vegas. And he's got an interesting project question. I don't know if we can answer it, but somebody out there might, or have seen something on the internet that could help Patrick out. He would like to build some sort of in-flight presentation, but he doesn't like the noticeable rods coming up from the bottom or sticking out of the jet nozzle or whatever. Right. He's looking for a way to fabricate the aft section of a KC-135 and actually use the refuel boom to support the model of like an F-16 or F-15 or something.
There have been a number of models at the Nationals over the years where, in fact, the one that I remember the most was a 72nd scale presentation of a B-52 being refueled by a KC-135. Now, the B-52 was on one of those acrylic rods, as you would imagine, just simply because it needed to be. But the thing that was amazing to me was the KC-135 was suspended in air and clearly only held up by the refueling boom that was attached to the B-52. And I'll be honest, if I can dig out, I've got photos of all of the Nats going back 25, 30 years, at least all the ones I attended. If I can go through and find a picture of it, I'll send it so you can post it in the show notes. But that, I have seen that done a number of times. And I think that the key to it is the strength of whatever you use for that, for the interior of that KC-135 boom, and the fact that both inside the fuselage of the 135 and inside the fuselage of whatever's being refueled, an F-16, a B-52, whatever. You have to run the rod all the way through both fuselages to get the amount of strength that you need to hold up that type of presentation.
Yeah, since the only ones to do the back end of the KC-135, gosh, that could be solid.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I'll tell you one other thing. I have seen a couple of presentations of models in flight, not using acrylic rod, but using strong magnets. Now, it's a very delicate operation, and you engineers would understand more than me. You have to get the balance right in the magnets, between the magnets in the base and the magnets inside the model, so that it suspends and holds over the base without, tipping to one side or the other and losing that repellent force. But that's becoming more and more popular, especially among the sci-fi guys.
The next one is from Steve Berchtold from Covina, California. And Dave, it's another Dr. Strange brush positive experience.
Well, it does not surprise me in the least.
He's purchased an H&S airbrush from him, and he says the Liquitex stuff has changed his life. So I got to give that stuff a try, man. I've not sprayed an acrylic since I bought that from John.
The only thing I've sprayed are enamels and acrylic lacquers. So I have not tried to spray an actual water-based or alcohol-based acrylic. And so I don't have experience in that, but I have no doubt that he's right in his advice.
Well, Michael Karnak is back with his interesting question of the episode. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, he does a nice job with those.
What is the most exotic place you've ordered a kit or accessory from? Most way out there, exotic / not US, not Europe, not Japan, or most way out there modeling magazines even.
Oh, let's see. I have ordered stuff from, in fact, I not too long ago got an order from Estonia.
Yeah.
So that might actually qualify. I almost placed an order. There was a company that in New Zealand who did a 72nd scale resin Vickers Wildebeest. And I didn't place an order, but I was sorely tempted to place an order for that item, which probably would have been the most exotic item from one of the more exotic places. How about you?
Oh, I've ordered from all over Eastern Europe.
Yeah, well, because of your dealings in military and all, I'm sure you've.
Oh, I've taken some risks there, but even modeling, I've ordered from both Russia and Ukraine, Poland, Hungary.
Yep.
All those countries.
I'll be honest with you that, and this is all pre-Ukraine war stuff. Probably the place I have been most nervous about ordering from has been Russia, simply because it seems so Wild West in many ways, and you're never 100% sure. So if and when I've ordered from Russia, I've ordered only from mainline folks who other people I know have ordered from and had results. I'm not sure, especially right now, but I'm not sure I'd go off grid and order from Russia, with somebody you've never dealt with.
I don't know. For me, those places I mentioned they're kind of exotic, I guess, for scale modeling, but a lot of them are right at the forefront of the current market.
The Quinta Studio stuff came out of nowhere, out of Russia.
So I don't know that, there's some of those figure sets from Vietnam I might pick up at some point. That'd be pretty exotic.
Yeah.
Be more exotic than China.
Yep.
Which I've ordered from there too. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, China's almost no big deal.
So hope we didn't disappoint, but Haven't ordered any models from Timbuktu or any place. Our buddy Tom Choi from Champaign, Illinois. Jack Weislick, Polish Coast Watchers.
Yep.
Peoria Club. We mentioned taking chances or taking risks in modeling at some point. Episode 59, he says. I'll take his word for it. It's been a while.
Yes, all the episodes run together after a while.
At least the by number they do. I remember episodes, but I don't remember. I have to go back and look at the titles.
Yeah, exactly.
He's kind of a fly by the seat of his pants modeler, apparently. He says the old saying, measure twice, cut once, doesn't really apply to him.
That way lies heartbreak, man. I'm telling you.
Luck's looking like it's been pretty good, but, he's just a dive-in kind of guy. That's one approach. Just stick and bite it off and chew it.
And you know what? There is a school of thought and an argument to be made that a person with that attitude to modeling gets a lot more enjoyment out of it. Now, they may also get a little more heartbreak if they've, cut before they measured twice, but that youthful enthusiasm that comes from just saying, nothing intimidates me. I'm going to dive into this kit just because I want to. I can see how that brings a lot of enjoyment.
Up next is Brad Belsheim, and he loved episode 60 when Kentucky boy found out he was allergic to peanuts. Oh,
I'm never going to live that down.
You're never going to live that down.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he just shared some of his favorite modeling fluid in 2 boxes, and one of them is Barbarian Haze IPA. And the other Zombie Dust, both from Three Floyds Brewing. You ever hear back from that guy?
No, I did not. At some point, I'm going to drive to freaking Munster, Indiana, and go knock on a door because those guys need to be sponsoring our podcast as much as often as we've talked about them.
I think you're right. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, we're going to come back from Omaha by way of Munster, Indiana. That's not out of your way at all.
Nope. And finally, from Las Vegas, Nevada, Derek Post. He's written in a couple of times fairly recently, but he finally answered about his stash getting stolen. They were stolen out of storage. He moved to Las Vegas fairly recently. I think it might have been around the time of the Nationals.
Oh, well, listen, we can say from actual experience, the modelers out in Las Vegas are a good group of guys. You got lucky in that respect.
He's rebuilding the stash and the tools. I said that's an upside we've guided him toward. Sounds like he's on the waiting list right now for a Harder and Steenbeck airbrush from John, but he did order, I think, the AK brush that he mentioned.
Oh, okay.
In our last episode. So, man,
good.
John's getting a lot of love.
Getting a lot of love
tonight.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, that is all from the normal email channel.
Well, I've actually had a couple of folks reach out on Facebook. One was from a modeler by the name of Robert Judson. He lives in Iowa, which isn't that far from Omaha. And getting to go to the Nationals was looking kind of iffy due to, work-life balance and money and all that other stuff. But he sent us a Facebook message to let us know that he got the green light from the better half. Things have worked out otherwise, so he is definitely going to the Nationals. So I told him to stop by the table. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for any modeler who was on the fence and is going to end up getting to go to the Nationals. So that was good news. And then Tyler Artis, who I talked about in a previous episode, had sent me a instant message where he sent a picture of I guess it's a BMW M6 that was built by a racing vehicle that was built by the guy who got him back into modeling, and he got to photograph it next to the hauler of the actual vehicle, the semi that hauls the race car around. So, And it's a very nice model. I'll tell you what, I can see, while I've only built one car in my life, I can certainly see the attraction for car modelers of building cars, particularly race cars. So, at some point we ought to get somebody on who knows that area modeling.
We probably should.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, if those out there listening would like to contact us with a question or comment or both or whatever, you can do so by emailing us at plasticmodelmojo@gmail.com. Or as Dave just talked about in his bit there, you can hit us up through the Facebook Messenger system.
Yep.
We'll have a conversation there too. So please keep it coming, folks.
Yep, absolutely. This is the point in the podcast where I make an interruption to beg you all to, when you're done with this episode, please go to whatever podcast app you listen to us on and rate the podcast. Give us 5 stars. It helps drive visibility. In addition, if you know a modeler who doesn't listen to podcasts, doesn't listen to modeling podcasts, doesn't know what a podcast is, help them out, turn them on to us. If you need to grab their phone and walk them through how to access and subscribe to Plastic Model Mojo, please do that. It is the best way for us to get new listeners, and people are doing it, and we continue to grow, and we're flat out, frankly, amazed at that. So please do that. And if you haven't already subscribed in whatever app you're using to Plastic Model Mojo, please do so that you don't miss an episode.
Well, when you've given us a listen, please check out the other podcasts out in the model sphere. You can do that by going to modelpodcast.com. Modelpodcast.com is a consortium website that we set up with the help of Stuart Clark from the Scale Model Podcast to provide links to the participating podcasts directly, just through banner links on a single website. So you can bookmark that one page and check out all the other podcasts in the model sphere. In addition, there's a lot of other content out there from our blog and YouTube friends. We want to mention some of our favorites, which would be Stephen Lee with Sprue Pie with Frets and his blog. Excellent blog.
Yes, absolutely.
Chris Wallace, model airplane maker. He's got a blog and a YouTube channel.
A new video out.
I know, on doing heat. What would you say? Discolored metal, like engine exhaust and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one there, Chris.
Yep, absolutely.
If you like 70-second scale, you got to check out Jeff Groves, the Inch High Guy, and the Inch High Guy blog. He's got all kinds of 70-second scale goodness going on there, and is always building something, isn't he, Dave?
Yes, he is. I'm telling you what, if I could achieve that kind of build rate, I would be, I'd be a happy man.
Well, we really didn't fire Jim Bates.
We didn't? Damn.
No. You can still check out Jim Bates at a Scale Canadian TV when he's not on our show, but he'll be back eventually. And we might as well hit old Evan up again because we had a good time with him last episode. Evan McCallum, a.k.a. Panzermeister 36 on YouTube. Please check out his YouTube channel if you're into armor modeling or even model railroading. So, good stuff.
Yep, it does. I'll tell you what, I have zero interest in well, I won't say zero interest in model railroading. Zero interest in doing model railroading myself, but I find a lot of the stuff that people do fascinating. And as I told Evan before we recorded the episode with him on it last time, that I watched his YouTube videos on weathering the rail cars, and it was really, really good and very, very applicable to just regular scale modeling, non-railroad related scale modeling. So, if you haven't checked out Evan's YouTube channel, you really need to do so. Finally, if you aren't a member of IPMS USA, IPMS Canada, IPMS UK, IPMS Australia, whatever national organization, wherever you live, please consider joining your national IPMS organization. They do a great job of supporting local modeling clubs. Here in the U.S., IPMS USA is an umbrella framework that provides insurance for club meetings and club events. And now these days, I can tell you that a lot of event spaces require that you have insurance. So were it not for IPMS USA and that provision of insurance. A lot of clubs wouldn't be able to hold their contests. So if you're not a member, please join. If you have joined recently, thank you very much for doing so.
Well, Dave, with all this email referencing Dr. Strangebrush, I guess we ought to have a word from our sponsor, Model Paint Solutions.
One more plug.
Plastic Model Mojo is now brought to you by Model Paint Solutions, your source for Harder Steenbeck airbrushes, David Union power tools, and laboratory-grade mixing, measuring, and storage tools for use with all your model paints, be they acrylic, enamels, or lacquers. Check them out at www.modelpaintsolutions.com.
Well, Dave, we're back from our break, and it's Wagon's Ho for Omaha time.
At this point, I am almost afraid to hear how close Omaha is.
At the time of this recording, Dave, we are 64 days away from the IPMS National Convention in Omaha, Nebraska.
Holy wow.
So right around the corner at 2 months and change.
Yes. Yep. And that 2 months will fly by. So we got to get some stuff. I was about to use. We got to get some things finished, man.
No doubt, and we'll talk about those things in the bench top halftime report. But I tell you, the thing that's getting exciting is the listener base is starting to swell around this, and we're getting more and more folks in our listener mail saying they're going to be there.
Yes, I am really thrilled at all the people who've contacted us to say that they're going to be there.
Well, we ought to encourage them all to bring at least one entry, especially if they're driving.
Yes, bring an entry, and not only two things we ought to encourage them to do. One, be sure to register, pre-register, enter a model, especially if you're driving. But even if you're flying, you can carry one small model in a Tupperware container on your lap. But the other thing is, stop by our table, say hi, sign the guest book. We really had a great time in Las Vegas with all the people stopping by and talking, and had a lot of great interactions, which, it was stuff that we never expected. And we learned a lot. We got a lot of great ideas, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a long drive, but we'll get there. And
what are you worried about? You're going to be sleeping. I'm going to be driving.
All right. Sounds good to me. All right. We'll look forward to seeing everybody out there. And
yes.
Gosh, I got to think. Let's see. I'm trying to think how many episodes are between now and then.
3
or 4. Yeah. Can't be
3,
many.
maybe 4. Depends on.
Have to look at the calendar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because we got to talk to Scott again at some point.
Yep, absolutely.
That's
and by the way, if you're listening, if you or your club has not sponsored a trophy package, reach out to the folks at Omaha, see if there are trophy packages still available for sponsorship. I'm sure there are almost always a few left. So if you do that, it'd really help them out.
All right, Dave. It's the Bench Top Halftime Report by Tackett Z. Tackett Z, the must-have tools for the model makers. If you want to check out what Ed's got going on at Tackett Z, you can do so at www.tacketz.com. And Dave, I've gaffed. When we were at Indy, Ed mentioned a new discount code, if I'm not mistaken. And
yes.
I need to follow up on that because that one has completely fallen through the cracks on my end.
Well, we'll get it straightened out.
All right. So, folks.
He's a good guy. He won't hold it against us.
Well, Dave, what do you got going on?
If you've been following on the Facebook page, the beast is together. The P-52 is completely assembled. It's partially painted because I painted it in stages, or at least parts of it in stages. It, in fact, after we finish recording this episode, if I have enough energy left, it's going to get its first complete overall coat of not Air Defense Command Gray, Air Combat Command Gray. And so it's looking good. I had a little bit of negative modeling on the M30, and not bad. But when Skippy was over the other day modeling, we spent like 6 straight hours at the bench with an interruption for dinner and maybe a glass of scotch or maybe two. He accidentally knocked one of the handles off of the trail on the M30, one of the two, the big handles that you fold down and then you fold up to split the trail and manhandle the gun in position. It's a clean break. It's not a problem. I just haven't glued it back on. So I'm going to glue that back on and move forward on that as well. And I am hoping that both of these items will be at Omaha, especially since we're driving. There's no excuse for it. How about you?
Oh, man. I've been prepping and trying to get started on painting the remaining bobs for the Zis 2 base. I'm not going to talk about that too much, but I mentioned some unpainted ones last time, and, well, we're trying to get there.
Yeah.
Waiting on a product to use on those, actually, and we'll talk about that in the What Broke Your Wallet segment coming up. But given that one is clear for landing at some point here soon, hopefully before Nationals.
Yes, absolutely.
I've dug out the E16 again.
Got all the dust off of it?
There's no dust on it. It was in a display case. I'm getting ready to etch some more dive brakes because got a couple people asking about them.
Oh, okay.
So I want to do that, and
that's cool.
Wet my whistle with that again.
Yep. Nice to keep in practice with that, because I'm sure with either your Katusha or your Reba Botan or one of those projects coming up, you're gonna do something with photo etch.
I probably will. And I'm trying to remember how I cabled the catapult. I may have a picture somewhere. I hope I do. So that was a bit of an ouch.
Yeah.
Not remembering that. And then also, I've mentioned it before, but the catapult in that Fujimi kit's kind of a catapult-ish. It's a representative.
Right.
It's probably an amalgamation of one or two types, maybe even. Anyway, there's no real cable attachment for the launch trolley.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, based on what the other trolleys looked like, and probably try to fabricate something for that one to at least make it look reasonable.
Right. Some pseudo engineering.
And in preparation for the next kind of bigger project, I've been kind of digging into the planning, especially after talking to Ed last episode for the Katusha, because it's a truck. I haven't done a truck with an interior in a while.
Yeah.
And just kind of thinking about that a little bit and fitting some parts and trying to get excited about that one. Well, I'm not trying. I am excited about it. That's the stuff. It's kind of virtual modeling to a point, but it's all on the bench and off the bench at times. But trying to get those things back in a frame of mind that I can pick up on them pretty quick once I get the other one done.
Sure. On the Zis, are you going with aftermarket resin wheels?
Yes, it's got the Air Connection makes them. Hussar.
Oh, okay.
The Hussar set, yeah.
Well, I used the Hussar set for the M30, and I can tell you from that, their resin casting is really, really nice.
I like them. They're already painted, so.
Oh, what do you mean they're already? Do you already did that? How long ago did you do that?
Oh, when I painted it the first time, they're just waiting to be weathered. So, I've got to get the groundwork done so I can have the colors I want to use to weather the rest of the gun. But it won't take long. So I got to quit procrastinating.
So, Mike, have you been buying anything?
I had a birthday since we last did this segment, and had some cash to spend on myself.
All right.
And I did.
I'm assuming that we spent it on modeling related goods.
We did, or I did. I'm not too big on Cold War era armor. Some of it I am, but not so much in general. Yeah. But that West German Kanonen Jagdpanzer, that 90 millimeter Panzerjäger they built in the 60s, has always intrigued me. Kind of the last of the Jagdpanzers.
Yeah.
That kind of vehicle kind of went by the wayside after that one. And I've got the Revell kit. Now it's not a Revell reboxing. It's one of their own native kits, and it's not too swift, to be honest.
Really?
It's It's not bad, but it's pretty rudimentary and simplified in a lot of areas.
How old is that kit?
That's a good question. I think this century anyway.
Okay. I love it. This century.
That narrows it down to 22 years. I don't recall off the top of my head. Perfect Scale Model Bow out of Germany makes a bunch of stuff for this thing, and I bought all of it. I've had my eyes on it for a few years. I was thinking this stuff's going to go away, and I will miss the boat, right?
Right.
So he's got a new upper hull and glacis, a drop in. It's just a drop in for the kit part. That's just a whole lot nicer.
Yeah.
He's got road wheels, which are a whole lot nicer. Some tracks. Now, when they first came out with these, they were resin cast tracks, but now they're 3D printed tracks, and they look interesting. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I did buy them. And he's got a PE set with the resin that also comes with some resin Pioneer tools. So you can really kind of jazz this thing up pretty quickly with all that stuff.
Well, next time we talk to Evan, you and Evan need to do kind of a deep dive on these 3D printed tracks, because those are, I mean, they're becoming not just more common, but I kind of wonder if maybe they are going to become the standard aftermarket way to do tracks.
They may, as a joke, he sent me a link to another company that just fired up some new tracks last week. Yeah.
So he's enabling you.
He's
what he's doing.
He's picking on me. That's what he's doing. But my purchases didn't stop there.
Okay.
Panzer Art makes a resin mantlet and turn metal barrel for KV-85.
Oh, that project's continuing on, huh?
Yeah, that's a nice resin and metal upgrade. The problem is it's about 1.5 millimeters wider than the opening on that A-resin turret I bought. So
a little bit of judicious sanding.
That's right. Judicious sanding ought to take care of that.
Yeah.
So I got that one. It's because I didn't like the mantlet that came with the kit, the resin turret. And I've talked about that before, but this is a potential replacement for that. And certainly a replacement if you're doing, the Bronco or the Trumpeter kit straight up. I mean,
right.
It could be a good way to go. And I bought a few washes and enamel streaking effects from MIG Ammo.
There's something else you bought you haven't mentioned yet.
Oh, I know. We got our soon to arrive VMS order. Is that what you're talking about?
That is exactly what I'm talking about.
So we finally ponied up and put a joint order in. And, I got the paper shaper and the sand and ballast freeze and the CA debonder. Now,
yep.
The paper shaper is what I'm waiting on to finish these bobs for the ZIS-2 base.
Yeah.
And I expect that. I expect that stuff any day now.
Yep. I hope you're right. I hope we're not caught in some port backlog, but yeah, I have been wanting to purchase some VMS products for a while. When you also were interested, when you finally said, let's pull the trigger, I was glad because I can't wait for them either.
Well, that's a good segue. What else have you bought?
Well, you know what? I am actually in, and this happens to me every year, or at least every year that I go to the Nationals, which is almost every year. About 60 days out from the Nationals, I pull back my buying and I start to build a war chest because I know what the Nationals looks like. I know what happens to me and my money at the Nationals. So I try to pull back. Now, I placed that VMS order with you. And in addition to that, I had also on eBay purchased from China it's a riveter with multiple rivet heads. And this one's particularly suitable for 72nd scale. I think one of the guys on 72nd scale forum actually mentioned it and recommended it. I took a look and I pulled the trigger on it and it arrived, I guess Monday. So I haven't had a chance to try it out yet. I know a lot of modelers, among them a guy who is a really great modeler by the name of Barry Numerick. He is sold on riveting your kits, recreating the rivet and rivet patterns on particularly in his case World War II ME 109s. I may have to actually try it out, but I went ahead and purchased it. We'll see when I get around to actually using it. But other than that, I have pulled in the reins tight, and I've got a jar full of change that I'm gonna add to and convert to bills, and hopefully have a little war chest when I go to Omaha.
Well, hope you succeed.
I do too, man. I do. The blood center down the street, you can get like $30, $45 a pop. I'm going to start selling. We're going to raise some money here.
Well, Dave, before we go too much further, let's have this short update from Chris Meddings about his Models for Ukraine book project.
Hi, everyone. It's Chris again with my other hat on as owner of Inside the Armour Publications. As many of you have heard from my adverts on all the podcasts recently, I've published a book called Models for Ukraine, where all of the profits are being donated to the Disasters Emergency Committee Appeal for Ukraine to get humanitarian aid to people having to suffer this awful war. Already 90% of the books are sold, and over £16,000 has been raised and donated to the Disasters Emergency Committee Ukraine Appeal. However, there are still some books left, and we can raise even more money for this wonderful charity. Please go to insidethearmour.com to order direct. Or if you're in the EU, you can order from robbiemodelbau.nl. That's ROBIMODELBOUW.nl. You can also order from Bookworld Wholesale. That's bookworldws.co.uk. And when you order, you can choose from a huge range of other books they stock on modelling, aviation, maritime, automotive, and all kinds of military subjects as well. Alternatively, you can order from Froome Model Centre. That's FROMEMODELCENTRE.com, where you can also pick up on their huge range of paints and kits, including the fantastic fine moulds kits. You can also get it from starlingmodels.co.uk. That's starling-models.co.uk. Starling are probably the best supplier of 1700 ship kits, accessories and other details in the UK. And really, I can't recommend them enough. The service is superb. You can also get the book from Guideline Publications, that's all one word, .co.uk, where you can also pick up on their excellent range of books and magazines, including Military Modelcraft International, Scale Aircraft Modelling, and Fantasy Figures International, superb titles. Or you can find the book on eBay from my own store, ITA Discounts, or from Froome Model Centre's store. Thank you again for supporting this project, and a special thank you to all the companies that are selling the book and not taking a penny in return, but instead donating all the profits to the project. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Dave, let's move into our special segment tonight. It was your idea. We're going to have a little conversation about our favorite model brands.
This is actually a subject that I've discussed with several modelers. Jim Bates and I have this discussion, and it's usually put in the terms of, okay, you're stranded on a desert island. You can only build one company's models for the rest of your life. What model brand, what company would you, what company's kits would you choose to build? And the answer for me has been the same for years, but may actually be changing. My stock response for years was Tamiya, because Tamiya has, while not the largest range of 72nd scale aircraft, they have a really nice range of 72nd scale aircraft. Their 72nd scale aircraft kits are some of the finest, best engineered models I've ever built. I still will tell you that the Tamiya Zero is the best engineered model I've ever put together in my life. I've built two of them, and I can see myself building many more through the years. So my answer, and while I don't build armor or cars that much, if you're stranded on the desert island and you want to, Tamiya's got a nice big catalog of stuff you could build if you wanted to go outside your scale and genre. So for me, the answer for years was Tamiya. But I'm not sure that answer is going to hold going forward. What's your answer to the question?
I don't know, because philosophically we're on different pages on this topic.
All right, well, go ahead. Well, again, you're different in that you don't build kits, you make models. You have a different approach. I open the box and I put together what's in the box. You open the box and say, okay, well, that's a nice starting point, but what other 42 things can I blend into it?
Well, it depends on how good the starting point is. So I guess I could pick good starting points. And you're right, to me are always good starting points. Like there's not much to fault there. There's the occasional simplification on their armor kits, but nothing too damning. The problem is my lack of output, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Well, you're stranded on a desert island. Your output is going to go up.
No, but there's all these brands out there that the only thing I've done is look at the parts in the box that have all come to be in the last decade or so.
Gotcha. You're saying you haven't built one model from every manufacturer out there. Well, I think we can rule out Allen, right?
Yeah, and Trumpeter.
Trumpeter and Allen, you can rule right out.
Can rule those right out. I can rule out Italeri.
Okay. Did that Puma scar you that badly?
No, there's. I don't know. I think they're still stuck in the mindset they're marketing through toy channels. Their product line tends to. I don't know. Maybe it's harsh, but
you can be harsh. As far as I know, they're not going to come hunting us.
They are not keeping up with their contemporaries.
I agree completely with that. And in addition, I don't understand Italeri's pricing structure, which seems to be all out of whack compared to the quality of their kits.
Yeah, and it's been that way for quite a long time. At this point.
A long time.
Yeah.
Now, I always heard before the Euro, I always heard that had to do with the Italian lira and, all of that stuff. But the move to the Euro didn't seem to change anything.
It made it worse.
Yes, exactly.
But back to my point, I've got a few Ming kits, a few Ryefield kits in the stash, and those things all look pretty snazzy in the box. Looks can be deceiving.
Sure. Well, and Ming's got a fair size catalog, I guess. I don't know about Ryefield.
It's getting pretty big too.
Is it really?
Yeah. And the thing is, those companies have put out so much. You mentioned Tamiya. Compared to Tamiya on the armor front, since Ming's come along, Tamiya's probably put out a half dozen armor kits in 35th scale.
Right.
Maybe
one a year or two a year. They announced, in fact, the Shinizuka show, the announcement, I think, came out. They're doing a modern Japanese, like 6-wheel or 8-wheel modern infantry fighting vehicle. So basically they announce one new armor kit almost every year, but not every year.
Also, don't mind the high part count kits. I've built this mini art gun, but look at their tank kits, which I haven't built yet. So I don't know if they go together worth a darn or not. They got a lot of parts, which if you're into detailing and stuff, certainly helps.
But the engineering better be good.
Better be good.
The more parts you have in a kit, the more the engineering better be good.
And then there's my nostalgic side too.
Oh, you're not gonna want to build just Airfix 1970s kits.
No, because you'd have to have a lot of putty and sandpaper.
That's true too.
Might not be available on your desert island.
Oh well, I will stipulate, if you want to name Airfix as your, 70s Airfix kits as your thing, we will get you all the putty and sandpaper you need.
Well, they're not my thing. I mean, they have their obvious detractions, right?
Right.
But you get into like the box art and stuff. That stuff's just fun from a nostalgic point of view.
Sure. Yeah, box art, people undersell box art. Box art has made me buy more kits than it probably should have. And it probably made me buy some kits that I really, really, really shouldn't have once I opened up the box.
Yeah, the whole book and cover thing.
Yeah, exactly. Judging a book by its cover. But I'll tell you what, it does have the ability to grab your attention.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the Airfix stuff I can't remember the artist's name off the top of my head.
Ray Rimmel? I think it was Ray. Was it Ray Rimmel?
But anyway, I mean, his originals, the name escapes me, but they're certainly not undersold.
No.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
I actually thought I might like to have one and went and looked, and it's like, well, I guess I won't have one of those.
Yeah, no. So you say that you've got challenges because you haven't built from a number of manufacturers that you're interested in. Is there one manufacturer up and coming wise that you would pick out among the others to say, yeah, that's the catalog that I think I would like to explore? If I was, again, desert islanded, that Tamiya, but
right.
Is there another manufacturer whose catalog you're like, they got a lot of the things that I like, and even if you haven't built one yet, you'd be willing to take the shot?
I think Mini Art has a lot I would like to explore. It's a lot of parts to put together.
Yes, they do a lot of interesting things.
Well, we'll see what happens, because they were going down the Sturmgeschütz rabbit hole, but we've not seen the first one out of them yet.
Well, for a rather understandable reason.
Rather understandable reason. But, assuming that happens at some point, and then their T-34 line, they've got the tank destroyers and the assault gun versions of that thing.
Right.
And they've got the T-34, 85. What are they going to do? Because they've made road wheel sets for earlier versions, 76 millimeter gun turret vehicles. So are those coming? Boy,
you got to think.
That'd be nice.
I think so.
That'd keep me busy a long time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they've got all the Soviet light tanks.
I know you have a particular love for those Soviet T-50, 60, 70.
Yeah, I do. So yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. But boy, I could get one and it turned into a big detractor right off the bat. I bought that SU-122 at Indianapolis. I still haven't even cut the plastic on it yet.
Oh, man. You need to open that up and fondle it.
It weighs like 5 pounds.
Well, high parts count, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know.
But who knows? Maybe that will become your quote. I know you can't do this, but your quote unquote out of the box build.
Yeah.
While you're slaving away on putting 6 Katusha kits together to make one Katusha, maybe the SU-122 will slide in there as a basically out of the box build.
So ultimately though, I don't know that I got a lot of brand loyalty. You probably don't either.
Generally, I don't have a ton of brand loyalty. However, there are model manufacturers that if they announce a kit that I'm comfortable enough that it's like, yeah, that's an automatic buy. That's one I'm going to get. And there are other manufacturers that no matter how much I want the particular prototype item, that I'm going to still be hesitant. Valome, just because I've seen their kits. While no matter how intriguing the subject matter, there are so many things I want to build for which there are really good kits, unless it's just something that I got to build before I die. I'm going to stay away from those type of manufacturers. I'll tell you the manufacturer who's up and coming in my mind for my particular areas of interest is Arma. While their catalog is smaller, it's growing. They're building they're kitting multiple kits a year, assuming they continue that for the foreseeable future. Their catalog will soon be something that I could build the rest of my life and not get bored by. I'm just really amazed at how they came out of nowhere to the quality they have, and also the engineering on the kits is fantastic. And I got a stack of Arma kits sitting over here, and every time I walk by it, I am tempted to pull one off and start it, and I have to tell myself, no, Omaha's coming up. I gotta get these other things finished first. Is there any company whose kit you would not build, no matter how interested you were in the subject?
That's a good question. No, probably not.
Well, but that's because I know you, and what you do is you would take the kit, you'd salvage the 6 usable parts, and then you'd find a way to get something together from sheet styrene and resin third-party manufacturers, etc.
Well, there's a lot of that, but even like a lot of those they're old now. Those Eastern European kits, when they were the only game in town for a lot of those subjects. I mean, they're all still out there. You can still buy them. Most of them are still being made. The box brand might have changed 4 or 5 times by now, but the kits are still out there. Most of that stuff has been rekitted by better quality manufacturers. I panned Trumpeter earlier in this conversation, but for certain kits, even if that's the only one out there, that's still, the only modern one out there. That's still way better than, even if it's not that great, it's still better than what was out there, 10, 15 years prior of that same subject. So, you mentioned the T50 light tank. That comes to mind. I mean, that's a Trumpeter kit, but boy, it's sure better than the old Tech Mod.
Oh, that's right. Tech Mod did do that kit, didn't they?
So,
do you have that kit?
Yeah, I do. I've got them both.
You've got them both. And I assume at some point they'll be kit bashed together to make an actual T50.
No, I think the Tech Mod's pretty much done for.
You don't think there's anything you can salvage out of it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the Trumpeter's way better starting point.
It does seem like there was a sea change in modeling sometime in the late 1990s, that there was some sort of, I don't want to say great leap forward, but some sort of change that took place where the quality of the kits really, really made a significant improvement, while not overnight, but almost overnight.
And then I think you had Dragon, in the armor genre, resting on their laurels, and then just got freaking caught with their pants down by all these other Chinese companies.
Yeah, and see, I could see Dragon, if we were asking this question 20 years ago, I could see an answer from an armor modeler to this question being Dragon, just simply because of the depth of the catalog.
Oh yeah, especially at their high tide. I mean, they had hundreds of kits. Yeah, and instruction issues aside, and the way they kit some of their stuff, you end up with a third of the parts you don't even use.
Right.
I guess that's annoying, but I kind of see why they've done it that way. It was a bad execution of a modular kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of works.
Take a look at Evan. I mean, how many of those things has Evan built? I would love to see Evan's spare parts box. I'm convinced that it's filled to the brim with nothing but Dragon road wheels and Dragon, extra bits and bobs off of some of those kits.
Probably right. I'd say that's probably true.
Which just goes to show you, while they may not be, the latest Ryefield kit or the latest Tamiya kit, you watch him, he builds those things, and they are really nice models when he's done. I mean, he may have to put some extra work into some bits of them.
One I've not mentioned is Bronco. Now, they're another kind of high-ish part count kind of maker, but they're the company who has done the better kits of a lot of those subjects that were coming out of Eastern Europe 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago.
Like what?
Like everything based on like a Panzer II, was it the D type with the big road wheels? You know, they made the early Martyr on that one, and the flamethrower tank. All those, that's all crap I had Allen kits for that I don't anymore.
I still don't understand how when you finished that SU-76, you didn't take every Allen kit you owned and burned it then and there.
Well, believe it or not, even though they're not very good, they're the ones that followed that kit were way better.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So some of their later stuff was buildable.
Was buildable.
I guess it's all buildable.
Yeah.
How much gumption you got, but
right. How much putty, how much styrene, and how much time.
So I don't know. That's I don't have a favorite. I'm intrigued by all the new companies. I've got a Ming FT-17 out in the stash. That's a nice kit.
Yes, and I wouldn't mind doing an FT-17. I just think those are particularly attractive tanks.
And I've got a Ryefield Sherman.
Which one?
5C Firefly.
Okay.
And I've got their T-34-85. Those are both really nice kits. The Firefly especially is really nice.
Yeah. And, that raises the other issue that it seems like every time you turn around, there's another new model kit company. I Heart Kits, or, a lot of them are out of China, and a lot of them you kind of wonder what the relationship between them all is. But it just seems like, as opposed to, for years and years, we had Tamiya, Hasegawa, Revell, Monogram, Airfix, and Frog, and Heller and Italeri, and that was it. You could seriously, that's eight companies, and
I think Frog's a stretch because they went away.
Yeah, they went away probably right. But even if you count them, that's 8 model companies, and those were the 8 model companies for 20, 30 years, and that was it. And then where you look at where we are now, if you just go with injection molded kit companies, I'm not sure that you could. Maybe some listener out there has a definitive list of all current injection molded model companies. That's got to be a pretty big number now.
I think so. Yeah.
I'll be interested to see if there's an upper limit for that sort of thing. Well, Mike, we're getting toward the end of this episode, and I assume that you're getting toward the end of your modeling fluid.
Well, I am, Dave. My glass and that bottle are history now. The Old Forester 1920. I've had it on here a time or two already, and it's a good selection, but it's about a $50 or $60 bottle.
But that's my only complaint with that bourbon is the price point's a little higher than I usually want to go. But boy, it never disappoints.
Well, and I don't get it very often. I maybe get it once or twice a year.
Right.
Well, then on the other side, I don't know if you've heard, but I've working on tempering my libations a bit.
Oh, really?
Well, apparently I snore, Dave.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful about that. The better half will complain. But yeah, that both bourbon and beer tend to cause that.
Kind of taking a chill on that a little bit. Not completely. I don't,
Right.
Just trying to help some people sleep a little better. Probably myself included.
Yeah, well, that's probably true. There are also sound machines. I highly recommend them.
Well, how's that beer working out for you?
Well, it's got, because of the habanero, it's got a real bite at the end. It's a very classic blonde ale on the front end. Okay. It's 5% alcohol by volume. It is very much like drinking any sort of classic, almost, it's a step above the mass market, Miller, Bud, Coors, etc. as far as that goes. But that that habanero bite on the back end, that's a little burny. It burns a bit, and especially if you burp, man, it really comes back hard. So I'm not sure that this is something that I would drink again, just simply because I find the burn a little unpleasant. Not so unpleasant that I'm not finishing the beer, though.
Well, I've had it before. I mean, they're local here to Lexington area, and you know, they are, I'd say hands down, they're the most adventurous microbrewery here in town, but that one's just not one for me. I've never enjoyed it.
Yep. I agree with you. I agree with you completely. So, Mike, we're getting to the end of the episode. Do you have any shout outs for anybody?
Quite a few, actually.
All right.
Because I think we missed an episode where we kind of thanked some folks by name.
All right.
Take a more generic approach last episode, and I have to go back and listen to what I did before that. But Plastic Model Mojo is made possible by many fine folks and modelers out there in the scale model sphere. Folks such as Patrick Neff, Chris Church, John Pisano, Scott Stakowiak, Rob Hallinger, Jan Stoklasa from the Czech Republic. That's one from far away.
Yes.
Bob Bear, Lee Fogel, Lee's from our club. Thanks, Lee. And Tim Holland. Thank you, gentlemen. You are most generous. We really appreciate it. And that's a lot of folks in the last month or so who've come at us one of a couple ways. If you'd like to join the ranks of these Mojovians and support this little endeavor of ours, you may do so at Patreon at www.patreon.com/plasticmodelmojo. There you can make a recurring payment from $1 on up of your choosing, and Patreon will manage that for you and take care of the billing, and that's an easy way to do that. You can also contribute through PayPal. If you go to www.plasticmodelmojo.com, there's a heart icon in the upper right-hand corner. You can take that link to a PayPal Me page and make a one-time contribution there of a size of your choice, or manage your own recurring one there. Some folks do that still. So it's all great, and we're putting it to good use, I hope, by the listener mail. Seems like we're doing a pretty good job, Dave, and we just appreciate the generosity. It's very humbling. Thank you. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Well, I've got two shout outs. My first one is, again, I want to thank everyone who reached out and expressed their condolences on the passing of my father. I got tons of emails, tons of Facebook messages, tons of cards. Y'all, I mean it when I say it, that y'all are a bunch of really great guys. You modelers in general are really, really great people, and you all have proved that as I walk this particular path. And so I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. So now, do you have a second shout out?
I do not.
I do. I want to thank, even though we fired him and replaced him, I do want to thank Jim Bates, because Jim sent me a box recently, and in that box was the book that I mentioned previously, The Bomber Mafia by Malcolm Gladwell. And I was having a little bit of trouble getting into a book. I love to read. My reading is very much related to my modeling hobby. I find when I'm reading more, I'm modeling more. The two are somehow related. Jim had the book, read the book, enjoyed the book, and realized, because we're longtime friends, that I would enjoy it. So he sent it to me, and I'm tearing through it and really enjoying it. So I appreciate Jim doing that.
All right, Dave. Well, I think we're at the end now.
I think we are. You know what they say.
So many kits,
so little time.
All right, Dave. Until next time, we'll see you around.
You got it.
We got some show planning.
Yes, we better get that.